So to finish up, I just want to point out a couple little things. I want to talk about my notation and a couple physics points. I think maybe just one. But again, I keep saying I don't know what to do with the word light, because again, the concept of momentum is enough for me to have a complete proof and a complete physical intuition. So what is the word light in terms of fundamental physics? Again, it's some sort of paradox, or that's the physical paradox we have to resolve to complete the axiom, maybe, who knows. Again, the proof is inevitable, whether it's me or somebody else, but I mean, the point being is, I just don't know, because again, I used in my paper light, but again, just the word. But again, so to make just an initial differentiation, we have two forms: light, L-I-G-H-T, which is the fundamental physical phenomenon, and then light, L-I-T-E. So what's the difference? Well, light as the physical phenomenon is a noun, and light, L-I-T-E, is an adjective. So you have an implied basis without a noun. It's not really modifying anything, right? You can have an adjective literally written without a noun, but if you just said brightly, you'd say what? Like bright, like the sun is bright, right? Bright, or modifying the sun. So if you don't say the sun, you're just like brightly, what? Or I guess shining brightly. So I guess brightly would be an adverb there. But you get the point. Adverbs and adjectives don't have modification unless you know the subject or the noun they're modifying. And so don't need to make that more complicated than it is. But that was the big thing I wanted to cover. Again, just showing the basis, the progression of sensorality with a C, speciality in the middle, sensorality with an S, and then using some direct iteration of those vowels and consonants. Discussing mean, light, like if you have a light beer or a light meal option as opposed to a full meal option, it just means less mass or less calories or less caloric intake. What does that do, or what am I trying to do with that? I'm not sure. But that's really it. And again, just identity and proper nouns. Again, you capitalize proper nouns, but they're still iterations of letters and of sounds. So it's like, how do you, in natural speech, if you didn't know someone's name, I guess it would just be apparent if you were in person. But like, what is the utility? Well, I guess it answers itself. The question answers itself. What's the utility of a capital letter? It shows it's a proper noun. But why, from a fundamental sound level, do you need differentiation for proper nouns? Because if you were talking to someone, you would know who you were talking to. It would be very apparent by the context. So my notation, will be up on the screen if you're just watching. I make these videos. Hopefully people are watching and listening, but some people might just listen, some might just watch, some might do just literally neither. So, I don't know, I hope you learned something. But the first bracket, that's showing you the word that I'm starting with, the relevant basis, if you want to say that, which is our logical basis, just the word, and then there's a comma, and then another word, that's B, A and B. B is a word that is that I'm deriving that is directly related to word A, whether it's the syllability, the number of syllables, the first letter, the second letter, a whole bunch of things. When I'm just, again, these are to educate you guys and everybody else. When I'm just going, I just go off of intuition and do what feels right. But A is the word I start with. B is the sequential word that came from word A. I very rarely have two words, like bracket, two words, comma, and then either just a single word or two more words or more words, because the logic compounds, and logic compounds exponentially. So even to go, again, all of this, everything that, and I'm talking again, all of my work behind the scenes too, all of my work comes to modify single words by a single point in a sentence. An axiom defines one word definitively. And so, and those words are dynamic. They change as other words change because they're all dependent on each other, right? The universe is dynamic. But I don't have two words, because even if you have just two words in one elemental slot, the amount of logic that is compounded is tremendous. So the amount of, again, open true statements that you have to go through, and to get to the provable statements you have to go through, to assert that's correct and to know it's correct is tremendous. So that's why I have dichotomistic pairs, but that's not to say you can do that with, you can have a monistic element, right? You can't have a monistic or monostic one, you can't have a monostic pair. Again, that's an oxymoron or a contradiction, a paradox. Again, you can't have one, two, one, a pair with one element. It doesn't make any sense. But you can have trichotomistic or quaternaricanistic or whatever the syllability would extend out to. But that dichotomy, just one single word in one element slot, one single other word, comparing their complete generalities. Again, that's you're rooting to the fundamental stability of two, and then you need three words for that definition. That's the sensorality, two forms of sensorality and speciality. That's what we're doing right now. And that has, again, direct physical analog to the 3 prime numbers, 3, 5, and 7, based on our 3 iterations of shadows. And then, so the other bracket on the other side shows the range. And again, because it's a complete proof, both sides are completely bounded, and then I'm showing the contraction, expansion, until we get to that final solidified definition. And then again, what the final proof, again, it's the background, it's the proofing for, it'll be a cliche, or it'll be a word you use every day, or both. The result will be undeniable, and it will just be basically explaining something that's already profoundly apparent to you right now today. Again, it's just all of the background data. And so, is that probably all I want to say today? But that's my notation, just brackets. Again, forms of the word, syllability, all of it comes into play. But the bounds, the reason that I do the brackets is because they represent completeness. Each slot is an element, and you can put however many words you want in there. Just the amount of implications that has is tremendous, and it exponentiates very, very fast. And so, sometimes I'll have, like go to is one elemental slot, but very, very rarely. But I'll have more elements like A, B, C, D, E, F, G within the same brackets, but still just one word, showing that that group of words relates to the same word family, but not, a sequence of words in one elemental slot. Again, if you're just listening, there's visuals on the screen. And so that's just kind of how my notation goes, and you'll see that again. So that's my raw data derivation. I get the input from the universe, then I derive my own session, and then I do novel proofs, and then sometimes when I'm grading other people's books or stuff, again, I'll still do another episode on the Dunning-Kruger effect, but I can, when I'm deriving in another book, because all of these apply to any language, and it's in the same way. If you sit there and read your same paper over and over again, you become tolerant to it, or you become numb to it. You can't see the grammatical errors if you're writing a dissertation or a term paper or an essay for 5th grade. All right, if you read it, you need a break. You need to differentiate. You need to do something different to get your mind off of it to come back fresh. And so that's what I do with literally every subject. But I forget what I was going to say about that. But that's what language is doing. That is what I'm doing personally. Get the input from the universe. That is what I'm doing personally. And then I'll go get a book. So when I'm grading in a book, it's the context is if I'm reading someone's authors from the 1700s, it has the same structure, and it has to have the same structure. But in the same way, you take a break from grading or editing your paper, go do something else, and come back to it. You have fresh eyes. If I just go grab a random book, it changes the context to literally just random. Grab a number out of a hat and see what you get, and then assimilate and swallow up, so to speak, all of the logic or sequences of logic, even if it's a fiction book, in whatever book you're reading. So that's what you're doing if you're seeing me grade, Tolstoy's War and Peace or Charles Dickens or whoever. But that is it for today. Again, we're really, really close. Speciality to differentiation. And again, the fundamental theorems, the most general thing I can say about a subject or about a word or about 2 words or whatever, changes multiple times during the derivation until we get to that final definition. We've already done that. Speciality. The operative word is differentiation. Sensorality, the operative word is attraction. That directly subsumes or encapsulates the concept of gravity into the concept of attraction, because every gravitic force is attractive. And so we'll pair that, and again, the emergent property of speciality, of sensorality, of personality, of being a human being, has to encapsulate all of these things, right? We are the universe manifesting itself to learn about itself in the most literal sense possible. And so, speciality, differentiation, sensorality, attraction, C to S, what is the difference? And we'll see you on the next one.